Good morning, everyone. I, Yulia Matthew, would like to welcome you all to the international webinar on cybersecurity and forensic accounting, organized by the Department of Accountancy and Costing and Department of Statistics and Computer Application by the Symbiosis College of Arts and Commerce. The practice of protecting computers, servers, mobile devices, digital systems, and networks and data from malicious attacks, better known as cybersecurity, and the practice of employing accounting and auditing to investigate into the finances of an individual or business, which we know as forensic accounting, are of critical importance to the smooth running of any economy. With rapid advances in information technology, the world is growing more and more digital. And since businesses rely on these digital systems and networks, cybersecurity and forensic accounting have become interdependent partners in ensuring that the digital space is a safe place for individuals, businesses, government, and military organizations. While cybersecurity is the first line of defense in ensuring that the numbers add up, forensic accounting comes into the picture when they don't. Today's event is aimed at shedding more light on how cybersecurity and forensic accounting team up to mitigate cyber threats, as well as find and report financial frauds. To speak more on this topic, we have three esteemed guests joining us today. Keynote speaker, Ms. Justina Bernack-Wozno, the Presidential Representative for University Internalization at the University of Information Technology and Management at JSHOF. Mr. Aravind Javali, Principal Security Respondents at Oracle Corporations Australia. Mr. Aravind will share insights on creating awareness about the risk of hacking of social media accounts. Mr. Robin Banerjee, the Managing Director at Captihans India Limited. Mr. Robin will speak on the significance that forensic accounting has and its relation to cyber crimes. May I now invite our principal, Dr. Hrishikesh Soman, to deliver the welcome address. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everybody, and welcome to this webinar on cybersecurity. I'm very happy that we have got three esteemed speakers to speak on this particular topic from two different places, and I believe that they would be sharing different perspectives, and that would add value to our understanding of the entire concept of cybersecurity. I would like to inform all three of them about a little bit about our college. Our college is predominantly arts and commerce college, what we call as business studies and humanities and social sciences, and therefore technology or any exposure to technology is not really as a part and parcel of the formal education. However, as the things have changed, our children are very much techno savvy, our students are becoming more and more techno savvy, and we are also adopting technology to a great extent in our teaching learning process. So naturally, cybersecurity becomes a very important element, not just from the academic perspective, but also from our practical execution part as well. Whether it is our server, whether it is our information, whether it is our how would I say software, software in the sense the lectures or the study material or whatever that we create, the IPR what we create, all these things need to be protected. And from that angle also, I believe that this webinar would certainly help us out in understanding various aspects of that. I mean, we understand phishing, we understand Nigerian fraud and all those kind of things, but I believe that hacking and all those aspects which are overtly technological, we are naturally not into the technology part, or we do not have the understanding from the technology angle. And from that perspective, I think this particular webinar should be able to enlighten us that what precautions we should be taking, and what sort of measures we should be taking, protective as well as if by any chance some mishap happens. So I welcome all the three speakers over here for this webinar, and I'm really keen to listening to all their suggestions and all their perspectives on this subject of cybersecurity. So thank you for responding positively to our invitation, and I congratulate my colleagues for organizing such kind of webinar on a very important topic, and I wish all the success to the webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I take the opportunity to introduce our keynote speaker, Ms. Justina Bernack-Wozno. I apologize in advance if I've mispronounced your name, ma'am. Ms. Justina Bernack-Wozno, the Presidential Representative for the University Internalization at the University of Information Technology and Management in Rzeszów.
Thank you very much. So, dear organizers, speakers, and participants, there's the Lewis Carroll's book, Through the Looking Glass. It's a Saturday morning, so I can start with the very short fairy tale. And in this book, Alice, a girl in Wonderland, which you hopefully remember, is racing and running side by side with the Red Queen. Alice runs as fast as she can, but the Red Queen keeps shouting faster and faster. So Alice tries to speed up, but is unable to increase the pace any further. But what confuses Alice the most is that the world around them remains the same. So they are running, they are doing everything they can, but they stay in the same place. And then she asked the Red Queen, how is that possible? In our world, if one ran fast for a long time, we would reach a different location. A slow sort of country, says the Queen. Now, here you see, it takes all the running you can do to remain in the same place. If you want to get somewhere else, you must run at least twice as fast as that. So let's repeat this last sentence. If you want to go elsewhere, you have to run at least twice as fast. And in the digital age, the fourth industry, or as some suggest, the fifth industry, this is very, very true, and I'm sure that you know it the best. We take part in the race all the time. Academics, researchers, practitioners, and we run as fast as possible to stay on the market, to keep up with the competition. In case of business, to keep up with new startups that appear from nowhere. And in this run, there is a temptation to take shortcuts, to make one move and leave everyone behind. Digitalization creates a lot of opportunities, and we all know that. And I'm not going to take your time to list all those opportunities. But the fourth and fifth industry, digital transformation, hyper-automation, bring not only opportunities. It brings threats and requirements, such as better control and protection of data and information. This better protection, as good as we can assure, it's never perfect, but as good as we can assure. We business, we academics, we cybersecurity experts, we owe it to our customers, employees, and other stakeholders because they trusted us and because entrusted their data, information, resources, and assets. The cybersecurity gives us also inevitable support to innovative management, operations, communication. It creates a very safe zone. It is a backbone of every healthy organization, university, business, bank, whatever we can think about. On the one hand, cybersecurity is defined by the governments and sectoral institutions, and they try to motivate us, private actors, to participate in all kinds of initiatives to protect against common threats, which we know as compliance requirements. But those who create those threats act twice as fast as those who create compliance requirements, and we have to remember that. And because of that, cybersecurity expert and forensic accountants needs to be ahead of the wave and do much more than is required to do, and do much more that is required from them. And I'm sure that today the guests will present us all the strategies, methods, techniques, how we can create this secure space in our organizations. And that is why I'm very, very grateful for having me there and for having occasion to listen to the speakers and for taking this extremely important but also very difficult topic, and for the fact that today we'll focus not only on strategies, as I mentioned, methods, techniques, tools, the good practices, but what is even more important, we will ask the right questions and we will define the problems that lie ahead. These are the questions and problems that will stay with us after the webinar, and today we will start the process of solving those problems and answering the questions that will be formulated not only by us speakers, but hopefully also by participants, by our audience. Therefore, I would like to thank the organizers, the Symbiosis College of Arts and Commerce, for being part of this event. And I wish you a groundbreaking presentations and fruitful discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Justina, for your wonderful keynote address. Now, may I now call upon Sejal to introduce our first speaker for the day, Mr. Arvind.
Team, hope I'm audible.
Arvind, just give us 2 minutes. We will quickly introduce you and then we can begin.
Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Mr. Arvind Zaveri, sir. He is a service leader with an established track record of building, coaching, and mentoring high-performing teams, and having 14 plus years of experience in advisory and implementation of information security technologies. He has experience in building security operation centers and incident response team. From scratch, he effectively manages end-to-end incident response and forensic investigation and coordinates cybersecurity incident response efforts to prevent and contain known security threats. Sir is one of the best lead incident responder, manager of security operation, and cybersecurity specialist. He is one of the top performing adaptable IT leader who provides secure technical IT solutions that enhance customer satisfaction and drives business growth. So we all are eagerly waiting to listen to you, sir. I hand over the podium to you.
Thanks a lot. That was a lovely introduction. Thanks again. I would like to present my screen. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thanks again for the lovely introduction. Again, I would also like to thank for giving me this opportunity to talk on cybersecurity and insights into the hacking. Let's get started. Fine. Today, you're going to hear me speaking on these topics. Anyway, I will not be talking about my introduction because you already received a lovely introduction from one of your colleagues. So we will also discuss about the cyber stats. We will see the recent breaches. We'll look upon the news articles about the exploits, how victim have faced the financial damages. We will also see the attacker motives, what generally the attackers look for, and why would they attack the individual or the company, for what would be their motives. We will try to understand that. We will also see the cyber victims. By this, what I mean is we'll learn how not to fall for cybersecurity attacks. We will see some of the tips in this, and we'll also see a small hacking demo. I would like to present to you that. And last, we will see once you come across any such cases of cyber attacks, I am going to discuss here how you can report to the concerned department, right? So, and in the last, we can also have a session for Q&A, and hope I'll have a very interactive sessions. If in case you have any doubts or any questions in the middle of the presentation, just feel free to put it in the chat, or feel free to pass on to the in charge team, Aishwarya, Vaishali. Yeah, and yeah, we can discuss the Q&A session in the Q&A session. All right, as I said, okay, I think you have missed the credentials part. I have also certified in hacking, forensics, and also I have done certification in the management level. So, and one liner, I am a incident response specialist. What does this mean is there in the company, every now and then we see attacks. And when the attack happens, who's the first response? I mean, they will have to provide the response. And I am the first person to jump onto the case and investigate in detail and ensure the customer is secured, and also ensure in future the same they won't fall to the same type of attack, and also implement security controls and protect the company from further damage. So I will be the first person to pitch in to resolve the incident from start till the end, and ensure the business is continuing. That's my goal of my activity whenever the incident happen. All right, jumping on. We will see a quick statistics here. This is the statistics last updated on October 2021. And you see the world's biggest data breaches and hacks. You can see the well-known companies, the big giant companies making a profit of billions of dollars. Can you imagine a company worth of billions of dollars, still they get compromised? This is something irony. You can imagine what would be the case of an individual, and if we ignore the concept of security. I mean, securing ourselves, right? So every single company are vulnerable in one or the other way. Only thing is we'll have to identify it and ensure the right security controls are in place, and yes, we give some sort of seriousness towards protecting the data. Data is so important, and yes, there are people who are looking to exploit these data for n number of reasons. And yes, in 2018, Aadhaar was also breached. Almost like millions of person records were sold into the dark web for some financial gains, right? Okay, moving on. Why do you think the cyber attacks happen? What could be the motive? There could be n number of reasons again. So are we having an interactive session? I mean, can I interact with students or
So we've got the chat box open.
So let me see. Let me put the chat box so that I can keep watching if I get anything. All right. Okay. So you can take a guess. Why would cyber or the hackers do hack or do attack, be the individual or the companies? Definitely yes, for profits. Profit could be in any form. Profit could be in the financial terms or non-financial term, maybe owning a property or intellectual property, right? Some of the one of the thing would be stealing for sensitive data or information. Information is key. As we know, with this information, the attacker can exploit the way they want, by damaging the reputation of the company or the individual, right? So they look for sensitive information, and the one of their motive could be that, and also financial gains. In the real world as well, we have seen criminals attacking individuals for some sort of profit by stealing the chains, stealing money, stealing the important items. Likewise, they make profit from that, and likewise in digital, there are cases where the attacks in a way, by making trap for the individual or the victim, by paying some sort of ransom and blackmail. Yeah, this is all can happen. The purpose could be for the financial gain. And revenge, why I would say this is again, of late, you must be following the news. Russia attacked Ukraine, and though it's a physical war, digitally US counterattacked, you know, Russian organization. So yeah, I mean, it can be state sponsored to attack and counterattack, or when it comes to an individual. What happens generally is, if the hackers can be found on the darknet, they hire the hacker, and they provide some sort of information to the hacker, and the contractor provide the information to the hacker, and the hacker hack the individual and the contact, just to fulfill the task of the contractor, and by taking the revenge, right? And also for the thrills. So these days, amateur hackers are coming up, and they are very interested to see how successful their skills are, and for thrills, they do attempt for hacks. Those are called script kiddies. Okay, why do you think people become victim of cyber attacks? So this is something interesting. Though they know they shouldn't be clicking links, or shouldn't be answering unknown phone calls, but still they fall victim. So again, exactly, the lack of knowledge, because they don't know how to stay safe. You can consider, as everybody are connected to the internet, especially elders. Yeah, you can consider my parents as well. I mean, they use WhatsApp continuously, but whenever they get any link on the WhatsApp, they do not think twice, but they just click on it, and that will lead to compromise of the phone or the device itself, and it gives, and people are vulnerable. Such people are definitely vulnerable. Yeah, we'll have to educate them by giving right set of information, how to keep safe by them, and what is the importance of the data, right? So I keep training my parents. Yes, they are improvising, but yes, the time will come. Yes, and yeah, that's one of the reasons, and other could be underestimating the risk. Yeah, I am already a tech savvy. I am an IT engineer. Why will attacker hack me? Right? Like underestimating it, by having a false confidence that you will never be hacked. right? So that is one thing. And these days scammers are getting smarter. They use the latest technologies to fool the victims and trap them for their intentions. So, and one thing I wanted to stress here, we'll have to understand this. There is no separation between a real world and the digital world. The reason why I say this is because we are so much dependent on this digital world every day, every single hour, minute. It has become no chance to separate these two worlds. So if that is the case, then imagine how much care we should be taking for when it comes to the digital world. We in physically in the real world, we lock our doors, we lock our treasury bureau, we keep our important articles, items in the treasury, we lock it. The same way in the digital world, we'll have to ensure by safely locking it and giving no opportunity for the adversary to hack the vulnerable part of the digital things. So having said that, let us quickly see what are the common online threats. So as Principal Sir just said, phishing is one of the common thing. Yes, there are other common online threats as well, like URL, malicious URLs, password threat. Outside the college, like how you can be safe when you go out of the college and access to the network, like how securely you can access. And we'll also talk about the malware. So these are some of the common online threats, but again, this is not just limited, but I would like to touch upon these things in this today's talk. Firstly, phishing. You guys may be aware the phishing is one of the most common threat, where the attacker sends an malicious email, and the email could contain malicious links or the attachment, right? It is very highly personalized. What happens here is the attacker, prior attacking to an individual, he does his homework, by understanding what are the interests of this individual, right? In what season the individual is going in, and accordingly he weaponizes, he craft the email, and he sends it to the individual, and then and he'll keep waiting for it, and maybe one fine time, and when the individual fall trap for it, the hacker just phishes everything on the personal on the, suppose the email is opened on the personal computer, possibly it gives a chance for an attacker to completely have a look at the computer or the any sort of personal device. Yeah, so it's basically exploits by using a phishing attack, by making phishing attacks. Right. So other thing would be by sending malicious URLs. How they do it. So there are many ways of crafting a malicious URL. Maybe creating a fake URL. So you must be aware that during income tax season, though income tax department come up with banners like do not click the phishing malicious links, or do not click, we will never ask for your personal information, we'll never ask for the payments. But attackers, what do they do is they create a fake website in the name of income tax, and most likely what happens, the victim do not notice the URL, and again it becomes easy trap, and they fall prey for the attacker, you know um, um, and then yeah, again information will be leaked. So, and also how they can do, they can shorten the URL by using like tiny URL, short URL, by compressing the URL names and asking the URL to click it. So this is one of the easy way for the attacker, so that here the main URL won't be visible to the end user. The moment he click tiny URL /abcd, boom, it redirects to the attacker's website, and then this is also gives a chance for attacker to compromise the victim. Spoof domains. Sorry. Sometimes the spoofing of the domain. So usually I have seen this. What happens usually is the Facebook or the social networking sites, they spoof the way how the website appears, and they create a dummy URL and send it to the groups. And what happens is, because when the victim click on the link, it opens the Facebook. But the look and feel of the fake website appears to be like genuine, but without noticing proper security controls, the victim will again fall trap for such spoof domains. That's about URL and password threat. We know what happens is every now and then the many big companies gets breached. Off late, I have seen breaches from Big Basket, even Facebook for that matter. So what happens here? So attackers hack these such big companies, mainly e-commerce companies, because they find a lot of user-related data, including name, email ID, phone numbers, credit card numbers, including the passwords, right? So those things will be stored in the e-commerce websites, and when the hackers hack such data, it becomes very easy for them to exploit this. How do they exploit mainly? So what they will sell these information in the dark web. There is other sort of other form of world where the regular URL, the .coms, the .net, such URLs won't. These are all white part of the digital world, but there is something called dark web, where the URL of the dark web is something very unique. It ends with .onion. So they sell the data in the dark web, and that URLs cannot be accessed in the white world, right? I mean, white world in the sense the world what we see in digitally, right? So they sell that in the dark web, and people often purchase those by paying bitcoins. Bitcoins or Ethereum or using XMR. So there are different coins, right? So by paying that, so that here the buyer and seller will keep their anonymity, and it will become very comfort for them to buy and sell and purchase. Yeah, they do hack the systems and steal the passwords. They deploy the malware, and also we have seen in the phishing. Phishing is again one of the common means to do the credential harvest by and selling it to the companies. And not just that, that could be one of the intentions. The other intentions could be creating chain of phishing. Creating chain of phishing attacks. Say, for example, I work in Oracle, and I receive a phishing email. I get trapped. Say I become a victim for this phishing attack, and they will get my email ID and the password. So what do? Because Oracle is a trusted company and well-known company, using my credential, they might go to some other giant company, maybe Facebook, and the email coming from me, though they are trying to impersonate me, though it goes to some other company, they will believe that it is coming from a legitimate source, and they possibly leak out the information when it is not intent to, right? So these are some of the ways and the motives for the password. Yeah, outside of the college. So what you have to be careful is when you go out of the college to access Wi-Fi, you have to make sure the network is safe. Rather, what I would say is use a VPN, or avoid using a public Wi-Fi network, which especially when it says free. You have to be really cautious when such unsecured networks are freely available, right? So make sure you don't join that. What happens here is the attacker create a false Wi-Fi zone, and the victims keep joining the false network, and so whatever transaction they do, the attacker keep sniffing the information, and you pass on the credit card details and the password. Everything will be sniffed, and attacker will misuse it. And you should also make sure, especially when you go out of the college or in the college, when you are logging into some site, just make sure behind you or nobody is doing shoulder surf. So that is also a form of visual hacking. They look at the fingertips and the keyboard strokes, and possibly if that is captured, then this is possible. All right. So the last form is the lost or stolen device. So it's better you have a control of find my phone or find my device, and having a control on wiping it remotely, right? So these are some of the threats outside of your college. Again, this is not limited, but just I thought this will be helpful for you to give some tips on this. Right, malware, as you know, there are varieties of malware. Malware is not just one, it's a category, it's an umbrella of malicious software. The intention of malware is to damage and exploit and give the control to the attacker. So what are the different types of malware? It could be ransomware. In ransomware, what happens? The system, it compromises the system and it locks it. And to unlock the system, the attacker will ask for the payments. Likewise, there are spywares, Trojan, botnets. Yes, you have to be careful. We will discuss about solution in the coming slide, how you can be safe from these threats. Let us quickly jump on to the hacking demo. Here I have got two different machines. One is the attacker machine. Another is the victim machine. So attacker has spawned the server. So in the victim machine, and he say the attacker is also associated to scamming. So he will give a call to the user saying, hello user, I have sent you an URL. Why don't you click on that, and you will get a voucher, cinema voucher. Yeah, possibly what happens, the victim might click, and then he runs the malware. By doing so, what happens? The malware will get installed on the system, and you can see the malware just appeared on the attacker screen. So once the attacker takes the control of the victim machine, you can see here nothing gets loaded, nothing just happened. It just a blink of a screen, and that's it. And attacker gets the control of the victim machine. So next, what he can do, he can interact with the victim machine. Maybe what he can do, he can completely see the screen of the attackers. Of the victim. So here, if the attacker wants to see what the victim is doing, simply what he can do is he can check the desktop. Yep. And he can see what are the processes running. Yeah, here you go. So here I can see.
Arvind, sorry to interrupt, but the screen that we see is the blank. Is that the one that you're
Oh,
trying
I'm
to
sorry. I'm really sorry. Okay. Okay, sorry. I think I missed a couple of. I mean, I think. Sorry, I have. I went fast. I should have
That's
asked.
all right, sir. Now we can see it.
Right. So what I just said. So attacker scammer would have given a call to the victim, and he would have asked to click on a link, right? So in this case, with the victim becomes trap, and then he clicks on the link, and then clicks run, and the victim do not see anything. Like it will just flick off, just the flickering of screens, and that's it. The attacker will get the control. So here you see the IP address of the victim machine, and once the attacker gets the control of the victim machine, he can see what victim is doing, and totally he will take the control of the victim machine. For example, if a victim opens up a browser, this is the attacker screen, right? So this is the attacker screen, and here victim is trying to enter the bank credential, bank, the customer ID, right? The moment he click continue, okay, he will capture this. He will capture the user ID in the screen, and because we do not remember, especially the banking password, because it will be complex. So what do? We try to save it in the mostly the notepad. So here you see the attacker got the username and the password. You can imagine, though the password is complex, but you're already compromised your system. The moment you enter the details, by the way, don't worry, this is incorrect username and password. Yeah, so yeah, that's I'm not sharing any confidential information here. Right. So here attacker gets both the username and password. So later what he can do, he can open the browser, the HDFC bank details, enter these username and password, and then he compromises the bank account as well, right? So this is one of the ways. And what else he can do? He can control the victim machine. So here you see, here I'm clicking something. So here, this is the attacker machine, and this is the victim machine. So what the attacker might do, he will go to the desktop. So I am opening computer here. You can see over there, the computer is also open. Here I got the password folder. This is something sensitive, right? So what I do, I will copy this and put it in my in the attacker's database, right? So this is how the attacker compromises the system, by using malicious links, by using emails, malicious email, or even by making a phone call, right, asking the user to do the activity which is malicious. This is a short demo of hacking. Hope you got an insight of how the hacking happens. Just you have to be really careful in clicking a link, and just do not obey or agree to the stranger, especially when it is not known, right? You have to be double careful. All right, so that was a small bit of hacking demo, and let us quickly jump on to the next slide. So what you can do. So we will see some of the tips here for phishing. These are some of the solutions. Firstly, in the phishing means the attacker crafts a malicious email. So you can notice here in this email, there are many important flags for you to not respond to this email. So can you quickly look at it and see what do you see? What are the the flags, key flags, where you can stop yourself, prevent yourself from becoming a trap for this attack? Yes, that's right. Email ID is one. You can check the spelling and grammar. Okay, so the incorrect spelling, the grammar. So these are some of the key indicators, the unknown sender. So this is how, and here in this unknown sender, though it is unknown sender, they are pushing you. They are creating in a sort of urgency to click the links, right? So that is when you have to be careful. And they are requesting for password. Sometimes what happens is they might give you a third-party payment links where they might ask you to make payments. Okay, so you have to be careful and keep watch yourself on the mail what you receive. If it is from an unknown sender, better not to respond, right? When it comes to malicious links, I gave you a demo here, a demo previously. The victim just clicked the link thinking that he might get some cinema vouchers, and then he became trapped for it. But how he could have saved himself? Firstly, you'll have to understand the one when you see the click here, that becomes an anchor link. You have to see what is the link behind it, right? How can we do that? So when you mouse over it, you will find the tooltip appearing, and it will display the destination URL. That's called a destination URL. So you have to assess what is the destination URL, whether it is safe to click, right? So this is how you have to be careful. And when it comes to email, they might give you in the email asking you to click here, or click here to view the file, or download the link, right? So just mouse over it and you will see a tooltip for the URL like this. Okay, so assess again whether that is intended for you to click, right? On the browser again, you might see a malicious browser, and better when or spoofed browser. When there are some buttons, just mouse over it, you will see the destination link in the browser, bottom of the browser, right? So these are some of the tips for you. Even in the mobile devices, you might get a click here links. What you can do is you can press that link and hold, you will find a destination URL. Okay, right. What is the solutions for the passwords? So as I said, you have to have, I mean, as everybody says, you have to have a strong password, long and complex. It has to be like alphanumeric. So all that we have seen. I have also gave you a demo. The victim has configured, though he has configured strong complex password, but there is still a chance for a victim to to get exploit. Definitely password 123 is not the good password. It's big no, right? So I have collected the statistics again for you. You might see in this the list of password could be one of your passwords, right? So if that is the case, I suggest change it immediately. So what kind of passwords people set? Mainly name, mostly name. This is one of the statistics. So what do? If they want to configure this password, they name their password, and it is very easy for an attacker to guess and brute force it and to exploit. So what is the password solution? So the best solution is change the password regularly. Maybe you can set a timer, change maybe 1 month, like every now and then you keep changing it, and use different password for different accounts. What usually people do is, for their convenience, they create a strong password, they remember it, and they keep setting the same complex password in all the websites, right? Even if one website gets compromised, you can imagine the rest of the website also can be hacked, because you already gave out the the password. The best way to control is having multi-factor authentication. What does it mean? If you keep noticing it, even in social media accounts, in Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn, they provide an option to enable 2FA, two-factor authentication. What does it mean is you not just you have to provide username and password, you will also have to provide something called an OTP, right? So if that is something available in such accounts, I suggest and strongly recommend you enable it and use it, so that you will at least one way you can safeguard yourself. Outside the college solution, as I said, so just be mindful about the surroundings when you try accessing especially the banking sites or something confidential data when you're viewing. Just be mindful about the surrounding. Who is behind you looking at the screen or the keyboard, right? Set up a security apps that could be having a good anti-malware solution, and keep updating that malware software, right? So it do happens that you might be having an antivirus solution, but it is outdated or it is freely available, right? So it is easy for an attacker to bypass the detection, right? So these are some of the tips when you are outside the college. Even in the college, you can take the such measures to to safeguard your data. The other thing for the malware solution, so all these slides, what I've explained to you, learn how to identify a phishing email, learn how to identify a suspicious links, do not download anything suspicious file, and keep your software up to date. These are as straightforward. By doing so, you can safeguard your assets, digital assets, by not compromising it, right? You know the consequences. If that gets compromised, what could attacker possibly do, right? Right, mistakes do happen. Mistakes are costly, somebody must pay. I totally understand that, but what can we do? So better you start adapting the tips, and there is still time for you. What you can do, you can uncover where you have used your personal accounts in which sites, and if that site got compromised. Wait a minute, I think I'm telling you a lot. How can you find out using your email ID whether such e-commerce site is compromised, and how will you get to know all that, right? I'll give you a tip again for that. So there is a website called Have I Been Pawned? This is one of the websites. This is safe. You can safely access this website. This is by https://www.haveibeenpawned.com, and enter your email ID here, and confirm if your email ID can be found in any of the breached accounts or breached portals. Say, for example, in this case, when I try to validate my email ID, my email ID was breached in certain websites, right? So you can be double sure. Okay, my particular email ID is breached. That means passwords are exposed to attacker. This is the good time for you, to reset and have the security hygiene. Maintain the security hygiene, right? So this is one of the websites where you can validate your email account, whether it is secure or not secure. Right. So this is again a few more statistics from January 2020 to February, March. So these are all happened in Maharashtra state, especially Pune. So many people are losing amount for the cyber attacks. So this is not a joke. This is totally not a joke. This is definitely a high time for you, to be mindful about the security measure, how effectively you can consider them, and yeah, not underestimating the attacks, right? So in case you find someone becoming a victim or became a victim of the cyber attack, you can help them by providing the details about the cyber cops. That is in Pune. Yes, they have got a cyber branch. You can report there. They've got their Twitter account as well. So if you want to report, you can even call their save their WhatsApp numbers, their phone numbers, their email ID. Yeah, they've got their cyber branch. They will possibly help you in retrieving the details what you have lost. This is again possible. We cannot guarantee in the digital world. Okay, you have lost some X number of amount. If you go to cyber cops, they might recover everything. That is it's totally I mean highly likely it's very challenging to recover the amount, but at least you can safeguard in the future in your future coming days. Can you recognize this? What is this building is? When I looking for the physical office, then I realized this is the building. Okay, this is Pune cyber cell branch. If you are not able to reach out over phone, email, or Twitter, you can directly go to their office and you can report. Okay. So with the closing note, I would say trust nothing, verify everything. So this is the hope you found my presentation with some helpful tips. Hope I have helped you in one or the other way. So if you find this helpful, please do share it with your friends, family members. And thanks a lot again for providing me this lovely opportunity to speak to you guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Arvind. I am sure whatever attacks you've spoken about, most of us have gone through. Personally, I've gone through one, and your tips are going to be pretty helpful for us. The chat box is open for your question. We already have one question for you, Arvind. I will just read it out for you. Does organizations have any insurance protection under cybersecurity?
So in my experience, I have seen very few organizations having the cybersecurity insurance. In such cases, what happens is when the company gets compromised, they will lose their business continuity, right? So they will lose some business for those particular days, and to even fix it, they'll have to engage third party. They'll have to pay amount salary for the third parties, right? The fees to the third parties, and all that accumulating. Once they submit the report to the insurance, or after when the incident happened, they'll have to report to the insurance, and the insurance also they come and check and involve incident response team to do a in detail forensic what could be the root cause. Yes, there are few companies who go for cyber insurance. If they go for cyber insurance, yes, it will help them during the time of crisis. But in my experience, again, there is a lack of awareness even in the corporate environment. But these days, because of the awareness, some of the companies have started opting for cyber insurance.
Okay, thank you, sir. We've got a few more, so we've got some time. So I hope
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So Jyoti is asking, so what is your thought on the recent incident that happened with Indigo, especially where the IT guy had hacked the Indigo website to retrieve information of his co-passenger? I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but his similar looking luggage got exchanged with a co-passenger, and the service team wasn't helping him with the right information. So what he did, he simply hacked the website to retrieve that information. So what is your thought on this? And also the fact that airline websites have sensitive information, right? Whether it is our debit card, credit card, net banking, personal information. So do you think it was also a mistake on part of the airline and the IT person?
Right. Firstly, I don't know about this incident, but however, what are my thoughts? Firstly, the person who has hacked the system of Indigo, definitely that is not ethical, and he can be sued. He can be definitely sued for hacking the company's asset, because as you said, it contains a lot of sensitive data of other customers as well. So that is primarily, yes, it is unethical. Probably what he could have done is he could have gone to the consumer court and reported this incident to the consumer court and involved related stakeholders and escalated to the right department to seek the attention. Right. So these are my views.
Okay, thank you. The next question, Dr. Aarti Kulkarni says, nice session. What about legal remedies available for such cyber crimes?
So again, in my experience, I have not seen companies suing the attackers, because firstly, the attackers are not traceable. We try to, I don't want to say this, they are not traceable, but what happens is, though we find some of the details about their IP, their region, geographical region, sometimes it will be out of the boundaries, it beyond the scope of the jurisdiction to inform RCOP to chase the person who is attacking from a different geography, right? So sometimes it go out of the control, and most likely legal remediation won't work, because we have not identified the culprit. But there are cases. Even in India, the scammers are tracked, they counter hacked, and their physical locations are identified. Their phone lines were trapped. But if you have all such sound evidence, then we can reach out to the cyber cops, and then we can definitely proceed with the legal remedies.
Okay, thank you. The next question is from our keynote speaker. What are the key trends in cybersecurity? What are the most challenging cyber crimes?
What are the key trends in cybersecurity? If you can be a little precise, I can answer. It looks like this is a bit vague. I mean, in general. Okay, so if you're talking from an academic perspective, the key trends, yes, I mean, of late, what I have seen is people are getting aware of something of cybersecurity education. So people, I'm seeing, though students are wanting to pursue their career into cybersecurity, they start from learning hacking basics, the security basics. And I'm seeing people who are also from non-IT background joining corporates and working as a security analyst, right? So this is one of the trend I am seeing in of late, from past 1 or 2 years. But this was not the case when I started my career, right? So no one was aware of security, and no one was giving importance for cybersecurity. But nowadays, the days are changing. Even people are showing interest, a lot of interest in securing themselves. Yes, that's one. And what are the most challenging cyber crimes? Challenging cybercrime, is it from attacking perspective, or from defending perspective, or from the responding perspective? Because I'm coming from a response perspective, I mean a response background. I would like to share example from that. So from responding to a cybercrime, the most challenging, what I feel, is the ransomware. So that is one of the filthiest attack. What happens is that encrypts everything, that the files will get lost, so mainly the attacker make the device unusable. So that is one of the filthiest cyber crime I have seen. That's one of the challenging to tackle that as well.
Okay. I have another connected question to this, but then I'll come back to it after taking one of the questions in the chat box. Shekhar says organizations always have a strong plan to respond to cyber attacks, but generally, in case of emergencies, we often see it failing. So, what are your thoughts on it?
So as I said, only these days or these years, maybe from past 1 or 2 years, not more than that, companies are becoming aware of cybersecurity incidents, and they are working on it to improvise their procedures to respond to such attacks. When you say generally in the emergency they fail, in my views, the reason why they fail is either they not be having a proper resource to handle the incidents, or they might not have technology to detect or respond the incidents. And sometimes what happens is they are not basically prepared to handle the incidents in many ways, right? So these are some of the reasons which will make them failure to the incident and eventually losing the business continuity.
Okay. As I said, I have the extension to the previous answer that you gave. You've been in a respondent's place since quite some time now, right? So I am pretty sure it's going to be a very stressful thing, especially when you realize, oh, we've been attacked, right? If you are permitted, would you be able to give us some examples on, what was the worst crime you've come across and how you've handled it? Because anything that happens, we're always, the first response is panic, right? So being the principal respondent, how do you manage, firefighting so many attacks?
Yeah, thanks for asking this question, Aishwarya. So I started, I took up the role of incident response from past 4 or 5 years ago. When I got my first incident response, task, I myself was not well prepared. So why? As Aishwarya mentioned, was it stressful? Definitely, it is stressful. Again, why it is stressful? Because I'm confronting it, right? So I was not prepared to deal with the incident. So what happened? Why it was stressful for me? Because the business was down. One of the well-known vendor, e-commerce vendor, especially they are into baby products. Their business totally went down. And I was very recently promoted then as an incident responder, and yeah, a call was made to me by the CEO of that company, and they started asking me, Arvind, can you please help? They are facing an issue with their business. Their infrastructure team is unable to resolve it. It appears to be a security incident. Can you please come and look at? Yeah, I happily took that opportunity. I jumped into it. Yeah, of course I panicked. Oh, what I have to do? What am I supposed to do? This is something new. I have not dealt this kind of incident before. Yeah, when I started analyzing the different set of logs, I could see everything getting obfuscated. The logs were encoded, the commands were encoded. Yeah, but yeah, I involved the third-party vendors, the security vendors for my help to back me up, and finally we collected the host devices, and we analyzed the root cause, and we gave good remediation, mitigation and remediation plan to the customer, and finally they were very happy. To answer your question, would we get stress? Yes, but with the experience, the stress will go away, right? So why people do to get stress? When they don't know what they are doing, right? When they don't know what they are doing, then that is the time the people you are giving chances to the stress. But you know what you should be doing, then I don't think that will give any stress. Yeah, this is something. These are my thoughts.
Okay, thank you so much. You've been wonderfully responding to the questions, and your presentation has been very useful. It was kind of very. I've been taken aback seeing the hacking process and how it usually happens, and we just get into that trap. So thank you so much for your wonderful, enlightening session, and we look forward to this association in the future with you. So thank you so much, Arvind.
Thanks. This is my pleasure. I'm really, thanks for entire team of Symbiosis, Principal Madam, Vice Principal Madam, Principal Sir. Thanks again for giving me this opportunity to talk to the prestigious organization. Thanks a lot again.
Thank you so much, Arvind. So we're now going to move. Sorry, Dr. Tessie, do you have something to say?
Thank you so much. It was a wonderful session, and lots of told us about the background of what is the problem and a lot of solutions. So yeah, the first thing we'll go and do is check whether our passwords have been compromised or not. That's definitely the first step. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, ma'am. Thanks a lot again.
Okay. Thank you once again. We have our second speaker joined with us today, Mr. Robin Banerjee. So I now call upon Rhythm to introduce our speaker for the day.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Now I would like to introduce our next esteemed speaker, Robin Banerjee, sir, who is a senior professional executive with experiences in several multinational corporations in over 20 countries. Sir is a chartered accountant, cost and management accountant, and company secretary. Sir is currently the managing director of Caprihans India Limited, and his earliest stints include Hindustan Unilever as general manager, Arcelor Mittal Germany as managing director, etc. Sir has won several business awards, including the recent Ethical Business Practices Award from Rotary International, the Corporate Award, the Corporate Leader in India by DNA, and many others. Sir was also nominated as the best CFO in India by Business Today magazine. He is currently in the Board for Independent Directors, Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs, Government of India. He is also the chairman, CII Maharashtra for Finance and Tax Committee, and co-chairman, CII Western Region for ESG Committee. I would also say that Sir is an author too. Sir has written several books, including 3 best-selling business non-fiction books. The first is Corporate Frauds, Bigger, Broader, Bolder. Published in December 2021, the book is already an Amazon bestseller. The second, Who Blunders and How, The Dumb Side of Corporate World, published in 2019. The third is Who Blunders and How, Scams, Fraud, and the Dark Side of the Corporate World, published in 2015, mainly in English, Hindi, and Marathi language. It was also an Amazon bestseller. Sir is also a very good and renowned speaker in business and economic subjects, and a popular columnist. After this all, Sir has a good lifestyle and some hobbies too. He is a keen gym enthusiast and loves to play badminton and table tennis whenever time permits. There's a lot we can talk about him if time allows. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good morning. Good morning, my dear friends. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to talk about something which is completely esoteric. We have been discussing since 9 o'clock in the morning, I think. And I'm supposed to talk to you about two subjects, cybercrime and forensic accounting. Forensic. Cybersecurity, I think, is what you discussed. My previous speaker was talking to you about. So I will take cybercrime, not cybersecurity, as a follow-on topic. So let me start with the topic on forensic. First of all, I hope you can all hear me, and it would be nice. The problem in this virtual mode is there is only one-way traffic, which means you can see me, I can't see you all, which is very unfair, isn't it? Very unfair. I am not in the habit of speaking to people, so it's nice to have everyone on board. Number two is unfair is I will speak and you will sleep, which is also very unfair. And number three, this monologue I don't like, which means I am talking and you people are enjoying. There should be a dialogue. So a topic like this, which is forensic, is what I'm going to talk to you about. My submission to all of you is that very happy to be on the chat, means keep on asking questions on your chat box. Of course, you can unmute yourself. Let us make it a lively virtual classroom rather than a boring one-way traffic of one person coming and speaking and you guys don't understand anything about it. Most probably you haven't even heard of forensic till perhaps your institution had said, you know what, we are going to discuss forensic. You people must have, some of you may have looked at the dictionary. Let me see what the hell is forensic all about. Is it the way how to do a chori? Or is it how to do a chori and not to get caught? And it's nice actually, isn't it? That if you can do a large fraud and nobody catches you, go to the Bahamas Islands, lie on the beaches for lifelong, why not? So forensic is essentially speaking as some sort of a detective investigation. Forensic is some sort of a detection of accounting frauds. Now you would say, oh my God, that's getting little tougher. So let me tell you not exactly a story, but an example that all that I'm going to discuss with you for the next 1 hour or so is all something to do with business. We will not talk about personal things. We will not talk about politics. We will all talk about business. And therefore, we will talk about forensic in business. In order to do forensic in business, and all of you are now students of various levels between first year and so on and so forth, if you think of a business, how do you distinguish a good business and a bad business? Many of you, not many of you, all of you, or let's say many of you or most of you will get a job or take up a job as soon as you finish this course. Some of you are going to start as an entrepreneur. I hope you do, because that's what we should do. Whichever way it is, if you get a job, how do you know the company is good? Well, reputation outside. First of all, what is reputation is $1 million question. Is the product which is making it is tasting good or sounding good or feeling good? Is that what it is? Is that reputation? May or may not be. So how do you know a company is doing well? The way to find out a company is doing well is to see its financial performance. How much is its profits? How much is its losses? How much assets they have? What liabilities they are holding to the banks? So you go and see their balance sheet and profit and loss account. If you are a BCom student, if you are from commerce background, you would have heard, and of course, some of you would be understanding what is a balance sheet and profit and loss account. So balance sheet and profit and loss account prepared by an organization gives you an idea as to how the organization is doing. Is it an organization financially profitable? Is it financially strong? Is it paying its employees on time? And so on and so forth. What are the salaries of, let's say, senior people? All this you can get to know. Salaries of senior people are also disclosed in the balance sheet and profit and loss account. Now the question is that, okay, you see a balance sheet and profit and loss account, but how do you know the balance sheet and profit and loss account is correct? Based on the balance sheet shows assets and liabilities. How much assets does the company have? What is the plant and machinery, land and building, furniture and fixture? What liabilities? How much do they owe to the banks? How much do they owe to the creditors or vendors? All this is appearing on a balance sheet. Profit and loss account, what appears there is how much is the profit they have made, or are they incurring losses? But you see, you open, let's say you go to the internet, you are trying to see a company, how the company is doing, and go to the internet and try and see their balance sheet and profit and loss account. But how do you know the figures are correct? And that's the starting point, ladies and gentlemen, today's discussion. The starting point is that when these profit and loss account balance sheets are made, and because the general public, you and me, will not understand whether this is correct or not, whether they are prepared properly or not, these balance sheets and profit and loss accounts are audited That means a chartered accountant who is practicing chartered accountant signs off a balance sheet and profit and loss account. So that's so far so good. You will say very nice, very good. If all balance sheets and profit and loss accounts are audited by a chartered accountant, that means the figures must be correct. So we can take these figures as if it is okay, it is appropriate, it's no problem. We can take it now for granted. The answer is no. The answer is no, because the auditors who signs off a balance sheet and a profit and loss account, that means the numbers on which you are dependent upon, that is prepared by the management. And the auditor does a prima facie checking without doing any investigation. They do prima facie checking. Okay, you have shown sales of 100. Let me say, do you have sales invoices of what 100? You have shown purchase of 80. Let me see whether you have purchase invoice of 80. So as long as the management can show that there is 100 rupees worth of invoices and 80 rupees worth of vendor invoices, everything is fine, balance sheet will be signed off. But what if out of the 100 rupees invoices, only 70 rupees is correct and 30 rupees is fraudulent? That means there were invoices given to the auditors, but they were not correct. They were made up, they were fraudulent, they were inappropriate. So 70 was correct invoices, 30 was incorrect invoices. Auditors perhaps will not get to know. If auditors get to know, they will not sign the balance sheet. So the purpose of forensic is also is an audit. It's a higher level audit. It is investigative audit. Forensic is investigative audit. Investigative audit means no one does forensic unless there is a reason to believe that there is something wrong. Well, somebody must have told, the banker could have said, some vendor could have said, some supplier could have said, some employee could have said, sir, something is wrong in this company. I don't think this balance sheet is correct. I don't think the sales are correct. Then the board may decide to appoint a forensic auditor. Now the forensic auditor will then start checking, investigating, as if they are, it's a detailed investigation, almost like a policeman, accounting policeman, to check that whether 100 rupees worth of invoice, all of them were correct, or 70 was correct and 30 was incorrect. Now the whole concept of forensic means that how do you go and check the veracity of the numbers, the correctness of the numbers which have been put in the accounts. So to cut the long story short, forensic is an investigative audit. It is someone who is going and trying to, it's like a detective. A policeman goes and figures out if there is a crime. But the policeman figures out, no, everything looks to be fine. Then a detective goes on. A detective goes and figures out whether there is a fingerprint. The fingerprint is where? Fingerprint is of the criminal, or the fingerprint of the person who got killed. So forensic, or the person who executes forensic work is usually called the forensic auditor. So forensic auditor is equal to a detective, whereas an auditor is equal to a normal policeman. If there is a crime, the policeman will come and investigate, figure out everything was fine or something went wrong. They couldn't find anything, but still there was a murder, or still there was, let's say, a chori, a theft, or a burglary, and then the detective comes across and tries to figure out what has gone wrong. Forensic is something like this. I don't know, most of you are young. Have you heard in this country, there was something called a Satyam fraud? You may have heard. Satyam Computers was a company, there was a big fraud. Now, most of you or none of you would have even realized, or maybe you haven't even heard, about 10, 12 years back, there was a Satyam fraud which took place in this country. Now, what was Satyam fraud? Now, Satyam was a computer company which was taken over later on. So Satyam fraud was nothing else but this company had cash in their bank account of 50 crores, 50. But for over 7 to 8 years, the company was showing that they have cash for 5,000 crores. Now, just imagine they had only 50 crores, but they were showing 5,000 crore cash. Although tiny, there was no 5,000 crore cash, there was only 50 crores cash. So everyone in the world thought, so there is a fantastic company. They have so much of cash lying in their bank account, 5,000 crore. What a company. But actually, they did not have cash. The difference between 50 and 5,000, the auditors could not find out. Those days, the auditor was PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and they couldn't find out. So as I said, auditors are like policemen. They don't do detective work. So they perhaps did not do the detective work. They perhaps did not have reason to believe that 5,000 crore, which the company is showing, it doesn't exist. But what happened? A forensic auditor will go and check whether the 5,000 crore exists or only 50 crore exists. What are the methods a forensic auditor could examine on this particular case? This is a very simple, not too complicated case. Let us assume for a moment that the auditor has been called and said, you know what, the company is showing 5,000 crore, but we do not believe they have 5,000 crore. Okay, very nice. Now, typically, what will the forensic auditor ask? Forensic auditor will go to the company, let us say in this case, Satyam Computers, and say, Mr. Satyam Computers, can you give me the proof that you have 5,000 crore of cash? So what they will do, they will give you the proof. This is what they did actually in this particular case to the auditors. What they were doing, they were giving, those days there were fax. So they were giving fixed deposit certificate, which was sent by fax. For instance, they had this bank account outside the town, outside the place, which is Bangalore. Outside Bangalore, they had this bank accounts. And they'd say, the bank has sent me the fax saying, देखो ये हमारा पास fixed deposit certificate का fax है. I have the fax which has been sent by the banks, and it all totals to 5,000 crore. Auditors will accept, very good, the management has given me the fax copies. I keep it in my file, 5,000 crore is okay. But the forensic auditor, they are detectives. They are saying, I have fax copies. Now let me ask the next question. Mr. Satyam Computer, can you give me the original bank certificates? Now the investigation starts. What they were doing is, because it was coming as fax, the original, there may be a 50 crore bank certificate and not 5,000 crore. The same thing, they used to change the number and the figures, and they're faxing it. In the fax, you can't make out that the original has been made, little hanky-panky correction has made to the original document. Assuming for a moment, they somehow produced the original, some original document, because to produce original document of bank certificate is not very difficult. If somebody is doing a chori, somebody is doing a fraud, they will go to a printer, and the printer, they will ask, okay, can you prepare some documents looking like this? Bank, Citibank, Bank, Barclays Bank, over, and the printer will print. That is also possible. So the original, okay, the forensic auditor goes to the original. Original is produced, although some of the originals are fake, but that auditor will not know, the forensic auditor will not know, but he's a forensic auditor. So what will the forensic auditor do? We'll go a little further. We'll say, okay, you have given me the original. Now let me speak to the banks. So what they will now do, you have given me 5,000 crore worth of certificates. Maybe there are 15 certificates from 15 banks. The forensic auditor will now speak to the individual banks. Make a phone call, speak. It is possible then, out of 15 banks, all 12 banks will say, aisa to hamara paas hai nahi, I don't have any certificate. Immediately the fraud will be caught. But this, in Satyam case, this call was never made. But be as it may, a typical forensic auditor will then do the call. Even assuming for a moment, all the 15 calls, the other person, whomever I am calling says, yes, Satyam has this fixed deposit with me, but forensic auditor will say, no, doesn't seem to be correct. What can they do? The fourth step they will do, they will visit the banks. You know what happens? Most of these cases, when such frauds takes place, the company gives false telephone numbers. That means they will say, this is Citibank telephone number. Mr. let's say Yadav is the branch manager. You can speak to Mr. Yadav. But I am calling over phone, but I don't know whether Mr. Yadav exists and whether he is a Citibank manager, but I have been given a number. So I will call that number. That if there is a fraud, that fellow, so-called Mr. Yadav, will be a fake Mr. Yadav. If a company can produce fake fixed deposit certificates, can get it printed, can also get fake bank managers put on the other side who will behave as if they are bank managers. So after phone calls, even when the forensic auditor is not satisfied, saying that something still I think is amiss, something is amiss, they will then visit the bank branches from where these certificates have come. Once they go visit and show that this certificate has been issued by this branch, do you think is correct? And that perhaps is the time when things might be found out. To make it very simple, that in this particular case, the auditor, which is a Satyam case of fraud, 50 crores cash being shown as 5,000 crores of cash, was not very difficult to figure out. It took time. Of course, it took time. It took a lot of time. But it was not very difficult to figure out. And I'll explain to you some place where perhaps it will be a little more difficult to figure out. And maybe I'll give you one or two more stories. But here, the first step was to figure out whether there was something wrong. And two, do some detailed investigation. And essentially, my dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, forensic auditing is more of common sense. See, what did we do? We just exercise of common sense. We said, okay, you gave fax copies of bank certificates. Show me the original certificates. When the original certificates came, okay, very good. Let me call up and these people figure out whether these certificates exist. When the phone calls were open, okay, then we said, okay, now let us go and visit the bank branches and figure out whether the certificates were correct. So 2 or 3 or 4 further steps would be able to show that something is amiss. This is basically a step of forensic auditing. So difference between normal auditing and forensic auditing, you see, there is nothing called forensic accounting. It's called forensic auditing, because forensic is a method by which you figure out that something has gone wrong or not through a process of detailed investigation, which is nothing else but what a detective would do in a real life criminal case. Let's take another example. The biggest fraud, or one of the largest types of frauds which goes on in the corporate world, is that an entrepreneur takes a loan. An entrepreneur takes a loan and runs away with the money. Takes a loan. Let's say the bank gives a loan. Let me give you an example. Over here, you have all heard the Kingfisher fraud case, which is one of the most famous frauds in India. You have all heard of the Kingfisher name. Mr. Vijay Mallya was the chairperson of Kingfisher, and it's all in the public domain. It's very well known, the case. So what happened? What went wrong? What happened to this Kingfisher? Why did this Kingfisher go bankrupt? Kingfisher was once the most preferred airlines, best airlines, beautiful, very well run. 2007, 2008, it started in 2002. By 5-6 years, it really became very famous. And by 2012, the company went bankrupt. What happened? So what happened basically is that the Kingfisher management was taking loans from banks, saying that I need the money to refurbish, to buy new aircrafts, to repair my aircrafts. So that's what they were saying, more or less. They were more or less saying to buy more aircraft, repair more aircrafts, to pay the salaries and wages because I'm growing, I need money to grow. So far, so good. So banks gave them money. Banks gave them 7,000 crores amongst various banks put together, gave them a lot of money. 7,000 crores is what they gave them money. So far, so good. Then the company became bankrupt 2012. Hairan ho gaya. The bankers were asking, thinking, oh my God, why did the company go bankrupt? Everything was good. The aircrafts were nice. Everything was nice. Now, when the company goes bankrupt, what happens is, the first thing what happens, they stopped paying the banks. Banks gives loans so that the money is given back to the banks. Now, they stopped paying the loans back to the bank. First, they defaulted on interest. Then they defaulted on the principal. So they defaulted. Banks became very angry, naturally so. They will not agree to this. Why will you? You have taken money from me and you are not paying. So the normal auditor did not find what was going wrong. So they appointed the forensic accountant. So what did the forensic accountant do? Now, moment your detective comes into the picture, and there are hundreds of examples in India or throughout the world, this particular case where the money which was given by the banks for a particular purpose, here for buying aircrafts, for paying salaries, wages, for refurbishing aircrafts, were not used for the purpose for which it was given. What happened is, much of the money was taken out of India, and invested in purposes other than aircraft building itself or aircraft refurbishing, aircraft buying. Theoretically, it's called money laundering. Means I take the money from the banks with the purpose, with the story that I'm going to require it for my Kingfisher Airlines, but I take the money out, and let us say I put the money and put it in an F1 car buying in Monaco. I buy a house in South Africa, in Johannesburg or Sun City or whatever. That's money laundering. Now, what will the forensic auditor do? How will the forensic figure out? So the forensic will say, yeah, fine, you have got 7,000 crore. Let us see where have you used the money. Now, the company has to show that ye hamara paas 7,000 crore aaya tha over a period of time, and this is where I have used. 4,000 crore I can see, but 3,000 crore there is a gap. I don't see that 3,000 crore usage. We will ask more question. Where have you used? No, sir, the figures are not available. I can't find out the vouchers. But how can you not find out the voucher? 3,000 crore. You have taken money from the banks. You have to show me the usage. And that's the first point, that the company has taken 7,000 crore loan, 4,000 crore I can see they have used, but 3,000 crore I can't see where the usage is. Now the forensic auditor takes over. They are not able to see 3,000 crore. But when the money comes from the bank, the money has come through the banking system, because the bank lends money not through cash. So when a money enters the system, if it has to go out, it has to also go out through the system. So what does a forensic auditor try to do? Then they try to see every expenditure, how the money has gone out. Let me see where the money has gone. Salaries, wages, power and fuel, paying for the air hostesses, paying for the food for the aircraft, all can be seen. But then they see that there is an entry, but it is neither for, there is an outflow of money from the system, which is the banking system. There is an outflow, but it is neither for salaries, not for wages, not for food, not for aircraft. What is the purpose? Then I will ask, this is the money which has gone, let's say 100 crores has gone out, but I can't see where it has gone. There is no purpose written. Then I go deeper into this. Now pick up this 100 crores. I start going deeper. The forensic auditor starts going deeper into it and say, "Ye 100 crore kahan aap kharcha kiya batao." So now they will say, "Oh, 100 crore, we don't know. How you have spent 100 crores? You don't know, not possible." So that 100 crores, now we start investigating. The forensic auditor now gets after that 100 crores. Out of all that, it is not possible for them to figure out all the 3,000 crore, but they will pick up one number, which is perhaps a little larger number, which would have definitely happened in this particular case. And then they will try to see this. Then they can figure out this 100 crore was not spent in India, but the 100 crore was sent abroad. The money went to Dubai, when it went to Hong Kong, or money went to wherever, Seychelles. The money was sent abroad. Once the money was sent abroad, it is very difficult to figure out where did the money end up at. Maybe most of the time this money then goes to Dubai, sort of bank account, goes to Dubai, and then it will go in several places. Very difficult to figure out. But the Indian accountant will figure out that this 100 crore was spent other than for the purpose of Kingfisher Airlines, was not spent for any purpose in India. The money was sent to a bank account abroad. So that's what the forensic auditor will figure out. So in the first particular case, the forensic auditor tried to figure out whether 50 crore or 5,000 crore exist or not. They did some let's say, common sense steps, and they found out that doesn't exist. This is all fake certificates. Most of the certificates are fake. In the second case, when a particular company, there is a reason to believe that the money was taken and it was used and was not used for the purpose for which it was taken, but the money went out of the country. It will not be very difficult to figure out money has gone out of the country. The difficulty, of course, will be that if the money has gone out of the country, where it has ultimately landed to, whether it went to purchase of drugs or ammunition or terrorism or business outside India, that will be very, very difficult to figure out. Because normally what happens when the money goes out of India, then it is transferred to various bank accounts and various companies, so that it is extremely difficult to follow the trail of the money. So this is again a typical forensic auditor who tries to figure out that what could have gone wrong in a country. Broadly speaking, if you look at the types of frauds which goes on in the corporate world, one type of fraud is where it's called accounting fraud. Accounting fraud is, as I told you, the sales is incorrect, or the purchase is incorrect, the asset is incorrect, or liability is incorrect. The balance sheet or profit and loss account is incorrect. The example of Satyam is an accounting fraud. The balance sheet, which showed the cash balance of 5,000 crore, actually they did not have 5,000 crore, they had only 50 crores. And so it's an accounting fraud. Second big type of fraud is where the borrower, the entrepreneur, the company who borrows the money from the bank, thousands of crores or hundreds of crores, promising that I will use for the purpose of business, but they do not do that. They do not use it for that purpose. They use it for something else. So, and if there is reason to believe that this is what is happening, then the forensic auditors can come into picture and try to figure out that what has gone wrong. I know I've spoken for almost now, I think 25 minutes or so, time flies. Does anyone have a question on this so far, so that we can tinker my talk according to your requirement? There was somebody who put something on the chat, but I'm not able to see the chat. Maybe I can. Yes, I can see that. I can see. So Casey is saying, very interesting subject and so beautifully explained, sir. What is the trend of financial frauds in India over the years? On behalf of whom does the forensic accountant do the investigation? Can the common man afford the service of forensic accountant? Excellent. Let me answer this question. I think this is very nice. I only see that at least some of you are awake, which is very nice. Good.
So before you start, I'd just like to interrupt. First is we have Mr. Purathan Bharati, who is here, who recommended your name. And because of him, we have you on our forum here, and we are so thrilled to have you. He spoke about how great a speaker you are, and we are, we are seeing it right now. So I hand it over to Purathan, if you have anything to say.
Purathan, yeah, hi.
Yes, just struggling to unmute myself. So welcome, Robin, sir. We are really delighted to have you on this platform. And in fact, you're everywhere, as we see via books and various WebEx. And finally, you are on this platform of Symbiosis with us, and a very interesting topic. I also have one question, and then I'll hand it over to you, sir. You explained that auditing, normal auditing and forensic auditing are two different things. So is it only after a fraud has taken that the forensic auditing as the name suggests, starts, are there provisions where you can have the investigative part along with the normal the auditing or the accounting work goes in? Because only after a Satyam happens or a Kingfisher in the present form that we see is born, that all these initiatives start and people start investigating. So how could probably investors protect themselves? And as you say, I have read some of your statements that if there's a smoke, there's a fire probably, and one needs to be aware of it. So are there provisions where we can have forensic accounting while the company is still in its heydays?
First of all, forensic auditing is very expensive. It is very, very expensive. It is done by experts who are in the knowledge as to how to figure out something has gone wrong. Can a detective start working when there is no reason to believe there is no crime? So the policeman obviously will come. So forensic, Aam Aadmi cannot appoint a forensic auditor. A normal shareholder cannot appoint a forensic auditor. A forensic auditor necessarily has to be appointed by the board of directors or a board member. So it has to be done by the management. Now, what many times could happen, or let me say, the starting point of a forensic audit mostly is a whistleblower. That means somebody whistleblows, somebody says, hello, something is going wrong. I don't believe your accounts are correct. This is what happened in Satyam. In case of Kingfisher, what happened? That the government then started having audit. Sorry, government told the bankers appointed forensic audit, saying that Acha Khasa Airlines kaise bhag gaya? How it was beautiful Kingfisher Airlines, madam. If you remember, Kingfisher was the best, most preferred airlines. Man, suddenly it went bankrupt. How it is possible? That means something must have been missed. Then they figured out the money of 7,000 crore. These fellows did not utilize. They money laundered. They took the money outside the country. Forensic auditor figured it out. So first, there has to be smoke and then there is fire for sure. Number two, it is not normal to appoint a forensic auditor unless there is a reason to believe. Three, it is very expensive. Four, the management and the board must approve and appoint a forensic auditor, because otherwise who will pay the forensic auditor? Let us assume for a moment, Puratan, you are a shareholder of a company. I will not put a name, but let us assume you are a shareholder of any company. And you have reason to believe something is going wrong. You are a shareholder, just an Aam Aadmi shareholder. You have reason to believe something is going wrong. Can you go and give a call to, let us say you are a Reliance shareholder and you say something may be going wrong. You cannot give a call to Mukesh Bhai and say, Mukesh Bhai, forensic auditor appoint kar do hamara taraf se. Aisa thodi hota hai. Aisa to nahi hogi. Mukesh Bhai bole, tu kaun ho? Who are you? You say, मैं तो shareholder हूँ. ठीक है, 2 crore भेज देना. उसका forensic auditor cost है. आप 2 crore तो नहीं दोगे. So therefore, these are practical realities. Who is going to bear the cost? Ultimately, the company is going to bear the cost. Company will bear the cost provided the management believes that there is something is going wrong. Now the problem comes. If the management themselves are hand in gloves, then even if there is a whistleblower, management will try to put it under the carpet. They said, hum khud kya hai? For instance, in this particular case, in Satyam case, the management was hand in glove. That means the Satyam, Ramalinga Raju, the chairman of the company, was doing this fraud. The whistleblower had whistleblowed 5 years ago. He kept it on the carpet, did nothing. But then the situation becomes so bad, he himself, Ramalinga Raju himself, went and told the Reserve Bank of India and the SEBI that I have done a fraud. He said, I have done a fraud. Please help me. Then the government appointed the forensic auditor because he himself squeaked. He could not hold it anymore. The fraud was so immense, so all pervasive. He knew that somebody is going to catch him very soon, and therefore he squeaked himself. And then the government appointed the forensic auditor. So, good. When the forensic auditor can be appointed, I wish forensic auditor is appointed everywhere so that we know everybody is clean and squeak. First of all, itna hamara paas wo resource hi nahi hai. We don't have so much of forensic auditors because learning forensic accounting and forensic auditing is not a very easy task. Everyone, well, there could be so many MBBS doctors. How many can become specialists? There are only a few. 1 in 10 are specialists. 9 remains a generalist as a doctor. Same is here. There are so many accountants and auditors, but only a few can, one has the knack and two have the ability to become a forensic auditor. Long answer to a short question. There is a question which is there over there yeah, I think, ma'am, you had asked a question. Who does the forensic? On behalf of whom does a forensic accountant do the investigation? As I said, normally forensic. Okay. I don't know how much complication I should get into, but let me do. I think you will understand this. See, what type of fraud a company can have? One company fraud can have, the cashier runs away with money. Every day the cashier, let's say, collects 1,000 and he puts in the till 900, 100 rupees, he runs away. But the cashier gets 1,000, he puts in 1,000, but 100 rupees he takes it home. It is possible cashier runs away with money. It is possible. It's a very possible thing. Another happens is the purchase manager takes bribe. The purchase manager pays higher price to the vendor. He takes bribe and sources suboptimal material. It is possible. Another way which can happen is in the night, the gatekeeper, the security manager, takes away scrap and does ships scrap away from the factory without paying it back to the company. So there is money, material going on in the night as scrap, but the money doesn't get realized. Now this is possible. Assuming for a moment the cashier case, the bribery case, and the scrap going out of the factory case, the whistleblower whistleblowers to the management and tells the CFO or the CEO, sir, I have reason to believe, I think, sir, ye cashier kuch do number hi karte hai. How do they figure out? Cashier, assuming for a moment the cashier salary is 40,000, suddenly people realizes the cashier is going for a holiday in London. His family is going on frequent holidays. These are the tipping points by which people get to know the cashier is now having better lifestyle. Kuch to ho raha hoga. Why it is better lifestyle than others? So there is reason to believe something has gone wrong. Similarly, the purchase manager is taking bribe. There again, the purchase manager has a salary of, let's say, 50,000, but he has a larger than lifestyle. He has just bought a land somewhere, a house somewhere, or he's staying in a Malabar Hill, maybe in Mumbai, in a large house. Where does the money come from? And that could be the reason by which the management can say, okay, let us do a forensic audit of the cashier. Let us do a forensic audit of the purchase. Let us do a forensic audit of the scrap going out of the factory every day. So this is where management takes an action. So this is simple, no problem. I think you will all believe that people are keeping an eye on what is the lifestyle of the various employees, and somebody or the other does squeak, which is called a whistleblowing. This is simple. The difficulty comes, let us assume for a moment, in case of Mr. Kingfisher. Now, I told you, Vijay Mallya started the airlines in 2002. And in 2007, 2008, if you remember, many of us would have preferred to fly Kingfisher. Everything was fine. Come 2009, 2010, Kingfisher Airlines stopped paying the banks back. They stopped paying. Actually, they started financial stress in 2010 itself. They stopped paying. At that point of time, when they stopped paying the banks should have woken up and said, what is going wrong? Why they have stopped paying? But unfortunately, they did not do much. 2012, the last aircraft flew, July 2012. Uske baad, the company, the airlines did not fly. They stopped flying airlines. Yeah, because they had run out of money. How will they fly? Once that happened, the banking system appointed forensic auditor, saying that what had happened. Now, the second particular case of example, the problem came from the very top. The top man was doing the wrong. Who will appoint the forensic? Unless he is forced to do so, the circumstances will be forced. In case of Satyam, the top man was doing it. In case of Kingfisher, the top man was doing it. So therefore, no amount of whistleblowing would have worked. He is himself involved. Therefore, their circumstances were such that one, when in case of Satyam, he himself went to the government saying, Baba, I have done wrong, please help me. Forensic auditor came. In case second, the Kingfisher went bankrupt. The bankers did not get the money. 7,500 crore was stuck, and the bankers were forced to appoint forensic audit accounting. But in the case of the example, when the cashier is taking money out, or the purchase manager is doing do number cheese, then it's easier for a forensic auditor to be appointed by the management, because the management is not involved. He doesn't know what is happening. So the forensic auditor will be appointed very quickly. This is the reality. This is हकीकत. यही हो रहा है. लेकिन ये किताब में नहीं लिखता है.
So
yes, go ahead.
It's been such an interesting discussion, and being a bunch of accounting teachers in this room, I've got a few questions for you, right? So the first one is for an auditor to give the baton to the forensic auditors. What, according to you, are the 3 red flags? Like, if an auditor has to, pass on the baton to a forensic auditor, what are the top 3 red flags according to you?
The first red flag of any company, that dal mein kala hai, there is something going on, is there is cash crisis. The first red flag, my dear friends, to understand, is there is cash crisis. Means they are not able to pay the suppliers on time. They are not able to pay the bankers on time. They are not able to meet their liabilities on time. First red flag. The second red flag is somebody in the system is having a larger than life lifestyle. Second, that is where money laundering happens. Okay, which means the second one actually precedes the first. Larger than lifestyle, because somebody is having money is going out of the system, and therefore quickly in few months' time the cash crisis creeps in. And the third one is that the assets, some of the assets does not exist. If you are, I'm sure you are a professor or you are a teacher. Now, when a company gets a working capital line is given based on the stocks and debtors you're holding. Simple question a banker will ask, and that's a red flag, right? Still cash crisis hasn't happened, still larger than lifestyle hasn't happened. But the company is submitting stock statement every month saying that I have 1 crore of stock, please give me 70% of that, 70 lakhs as money. The banker will ask question, you have 1 crore of stock, can I go and check the stock please tomorrow morning? Hey, sir, tomorrow I'm not there, sir. I'm very busy, sir. Acha, tomorrow you're not there. Can I come next week Monday? Sir, next week Monday I'm on holiday, sir. Acha, what about the following Monday? Sir, following Monday is my brother is getting married, sir. Red flag. Means you are not allowing me to check your stocks.
Right.
So this is a very simple red flag where a banker can easily get to know that something is wrong.
Right. So just extending the question based on your answer, like how you said that we need to submit a stock statement for a working capital loan, right? Similarly, for a long-term loan, the banks usually ask us for our CMA data or, a projection for 5 to 10 years. Of course, whatever the companies are going to give is as per them, right? And we absolutely do not know whether it is just made up or it's actual. So if, like Vijay Mallya, some industry happen to default loan, do they go back to check your projections, and do they catch hold of somebody if those projections go wrong? Like, I don't know if this question makes sense, but is anyone responsible if the projections go wrong? Because entire loan is based on the projection that they've made, right?
Because we are talking forensic and we are not, as of now, talking about business plans and so on and so forth.
Right.
Is that when a company, let's say in this case, has given a projection, they were supposed to do sales so much, their profits should go up by so much, the sales should go up by so much. And let us assume first quarter not happened, second quarter, again, nothing happened, third quarter, still it is not happening. What will the banks do? Because banks are getting quarterly statements. What was the projected profit? What was the projected sales? What was the projected cost? And what is actual? You had told me that you are going to sell worth 100 crores, but you are only selling 20 crores. What has happened to the balance 80? So at that point of time, what should the banks do? Ask the question that where is the money going? Forget about projection. The first forensic question is utilization of the money which I gave you. True. That's where the problem starts, utilization of money. Do you know there is a big fraud in the country called Bhushan Steel fraud? Bhushan Steel. Bhushan Steel has one of the finest steel plant in India. They took, I think, about, if I remember, 30 or 35,000 crore. They built up a good plant. They built up a great plant, but they utilized 10,000 crore. 20,000 crore money laundered. Yes, believe me, gone, over, finished. Now they built. So what happened? What they were doing, they were showing a beautiful plant. The bankers had no bloody clue that this plant has to be built in 10,000 crore or around 30,000 crore. This is called gold plating of assets. This is a simple gold plating of assets. Most of the frauds which is happening in the project side, the steel plants going bankrupt, money laundering taking place, is all a problem of gold plating. You show something, the bankers believe it is worth 10, actually it is worth only 1, because they don't have the ability to see what it is worth. This is the problem. Projection to 2-3 quarter में ही पता चल जाता है. Forget about the future. Future तो भाड़ में जाए. अभी क्या क्या हमारा पैसा लेके? Actually, believe me, ladies and gentlemen, you don't need a forensic accounting auditor. You just need to ask the right question at the right time. An intelligent question, one intelligent question. आपको ये हाल क्यों हुआ? पैसा जो हम दिया, पैसा तो लेके आप क्या किया? बताओ, खत्म हो गया. वो आपका वर्किंग कैपिटल स्टेटमेंट आया, स्टॉक स्टेटमेंट आया, बोला कि ठीक है आपका पास 100 रुपया का स्टॉक है, आप दिखाते हो कल सुबह 100 रुपया का स्टॉक आपका पास है कि नहीं, बस पता चल जाएगा. नहीं नहीं, टुमारो आई एम नॉट देयर, हमारा शादी है, वो है, ये है, बस यू नो देयर इज अ प्रॉब्लम. It's all hand in glove, unfortunately.
Okay, so before I go ahead with a couple of more questions, so our principal Dr. Rishikesh,
by the way.
So our principal Dr. Rishikesh Soman has joined us. So
Hello,
Dr. Soman, that's Mr. Robin Banerjee. And so far we've had a wonderful discussion on, something very nice and interesting about forensic auditing and accounting. So should I just go ahead with some more questions?
Please.
Okay, perfect. So Robin sir, you said that we are falling short of forensic auditors, right? So why is that the case? Like, I mean, this seems to be such an interesting topic. And then the fact that we do have a lot of auditors, we do have a lot of students pursuing CA, but why is that we are falling short of forensic auditors?
Perhaps हम लोग डरते हैं. But you see, there are two reasons. One, forensic knowledge is not easy to gain. It is a little difficult study. You have to understand IT quite well, the computerized system quite well, because the auditing will be done through the computerized system, the SAPs and Oracles of the world, the ERPs of the world. So not everyone is computer or IT savvy. Not everyone can be. So that is one perhaps problem. The second problem is people, I think that the awareness of forensic is still not enough. I'm so happy that Symbiosis has taken this up. I'm so happy that each one of you on this call hopefully has now got some interest. हमको भी शायद कुछ करना चाहिए. I presume so. Each one of you, yes. I must tell you that if you are doing commerce, I will tell you there is more than 70 to 80% probability of success if you do forensic. Because we are all searching, मैं क्या करूँ future में? अरे forensic तो कर लो ना. At least nothing else, at least कुछ तो शिक्षा हो जाएगी. You will learn something different. At least you will learn a different method of auditing, which is more investigative auditing. There's no harm. I'm an auditor. I become an investigative auditor. So the one, lack of perhaps inclination to understand IT. And the second, I still believe that people don't think that forensic is a great opportunity.
Oh,
because in Indian society, fraud or do numbering of corruption is kept under the table, under the carpet. Do we discuss corruption and bribery? No, we don't, because it is accepted as part of the society. Each one of you knew about Kingfisher. How much have you ever thought through that Bagar has actually money laundered money? He puts up. I am telling you, wherever I go and speak about this, let's say if I ever speak on Kingfisher example, many participants will say, sir, but the problem is, his business became bankrupt. वो business बेचारा क्या करेगा? Business खराब हो गया. Let me give you an example. How nonsensical it is. How nonsense business का कुछ problem नहीं था. One, of course, I explained to you, he money laundered. Indigo Airlines. Do you know Indigo Airlines? Yeah. Indigo Airlines started in the same year when Kingfisher Airlines started, 2001, 2002. I just gave you an example. The Kingfisher became bankrupt in 2012. I give you an example. Now, what is Mr. Kingfisher saying? He's saying, क्या करेगा? धंधा खराब है. So much of competition. So हम bankrupt हो गया. Very good. Indigo को क्या हुआ? Same market, same time was started. Indigo in 2012 declared the highest ever profit. Please go and check Google Auntie. You will figure out that Google Auntie is saying that when the same market, same airline, similar market concept, one goes bankrupt, one becomes more successful. That means something has gone wrong. It is not the business. It is not the market. It was a fraud. And timely forensic intervention, perhaps in 2009, 2010, 2 to 3 years before this bankruptcy, could have definitely helped the 7,500 crore of your and my money. Bank money means your and my money going down the drain. This is absolute nonsense.
Right. So, so you said that some people think it isn't really a great career, but through your wonderful storytelling so far, I am sure most of them, you've kind of sparked that interest of taking up forensic auditing as a career. So as an expert, what do you see are those top, couple of skills that a forensic auditor need to have? And over and above the skill, the kind of education that the auditors need?
Very important is many accounting students. Well, many students goes into accounting because they don't like mathematics. And because they don't like mathematics, many of them are not IT prone. So please don't have that blockage in your mind that IT hamara nahi hoga. Very important is to understand information technology. Nothing, no accounting, no forensic can happen unless you understand ERP systems quite well. Be it Oracle, be it SAP, or whatever developments are taking place in the world. So one skill which you must hone as you go along quickly, learn IT, get some interest into it. And believe me, ladies and gentlemen, IT is common sense. Everyone need not be a programmer. Programming perhaps could be a little more problematic. It needs more logical thinking, but understanding and doing accounting through SAP and Oracle is no great shame because it's just a question of some steps to be understood. So that's number one. Number two, the fact that forensic is a great opportunity itself has not told to the society. So in terms of, I think in terms of the skills which you have, which one should have, is all of us have common sense, I think. So that's fine. Of course, common sense is very uncommon to have, but assuming we do have that uncommon thing amongst ourselves, please learn IT. And yes, knowledge of accounting, ultimately knowledge of accounting, because what happens, you are an accounts professor. See, in case of Satyam case, when they enhanced the cash from 50 to 500 crores, they must have enhanced something else also. So asset side has gone up. That means liability side also has to go up. That means the liabilities have also gone up by 5,000 crore, 4,950 to be precise. So you cannot take up asset unless you take up liability. So an accountant can figure it out, but a non-accountant cannot. So therefore, you first have to be a good accountant, understand debit credit in my view well, and then a little bit of IT, and then you're done.
Right. So talking about Satyam, when you were giving us the example of Satyam, this is exactly what I was discussing with one of my colleagues, right? And you've emphasized on that when they've manipulated the bank statements, it is the first thing that the auditor does is confirms the balance with the bank, which in case of PwC, I believe wasn't done. And that's exactly what Tessie ma'am is also asking, right? So we're wondering that I am sure that PwC has been a part of this fraud, right? So just being blacklisted for like 3 years in India, isn't it just too small a punishment for such a big fraud in India, right? So why hasn't like any authority taken a very stringent act on PwC?
I hope you're not asking an auditor later on this question. They will be very unhappy with you. They will say,
But
how is from?
just in the interest of stakeholders.
No, I am only joking.
Yeah.
What happens in auditing is PwC as a firm has more than 1,000 partners, and they have more than 40,000 auditors. It would be one particular partner or two particular partner who would have done this Satyam audit. Actually, there were two partners, for your information, who did the audit for the 7 or 8 years. Now, for two partners, inappropriate behavior, should the other 1,000 suffer? $1 million question. It has a plus and a minus. In the wisdom of government of India and the system which we have, they felt, no, the whole system should not suffer. Maybe those two people only should suffer. So therefore, those two partners have been banned for life, and they were arrested and imprisoned.
Right.
So they have suffered enormously. Those two partners have been finished.
Right.
PwC as an organization was also blacklisted for 2 years.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, after several years, which happened last year and year before.
Okay.
I'm not too sure whether it is right or wrong. Let's not get into it. So they did face the fire. They did get the fire, for sure. Okay. So if you ask me, the society is slowly moving towards, you see, all these issues, the society must have a consensus around. Please understand, all of us are part of a society.
Right.
And if society doesn't have a consensus around a particular sarkari behavior, government behavior, then it becomes a political issue. So today, I think slowly the society is trying to understand that when a particular firm or partner is doing something wrong, that partner should surely suffer, but the firm should also take some part of the blame, if not whole, at least partial. But this is where we are. As of now, world across, frauds are taking place left, right, and center, for which I have written just a book, which has come out a month back, and I would request all of you to read it if you can. It's called Corporate Frauds. It has more than 350 live examples, including there is a chapter on accounting frauds. Please do read it. All of you will understand. We spend so much of money on various things. 400 rupees perhaps will not cost too much, and I'm happy to give cashback offer anyone who does not like the book. And I'm saying I wrote this book because I believe nobody's writing it. I wrote this book. I believe each one of you need to understand what is the underbelly of the business world. And these are only storytelling exercises. It is very easy to read. 3-4 days, maybe will be able to understand. But having said that, the factum of corporate frauds is so much under the carpet, To bring it up and punish people is not easy, because people are still not understanding corporations. Many corporations are big fraudsters. They do not understand. And please also understand, when such things happen, a firm is punished. So many people will lose their jobs. If PwC is punished, 30,000-40,000 people will be without jobs. Can we afford as a nation? $1 million question. As I was saying, world across frauds are taking place, left, right, and center. As I said, the book has it all, but they are still punishing the partner and not the firm as of now.
Right.
In this particular, just about 7 days back, the Indian Chartered Accountants, Cost Accountant, Company Secretary Amendment Bill was passed, which was passed 2 days back in Rajya Sabha. They have now said that if something is going wrong in a firm, the firm will also be held responsible. The law has just been changed. I think they knew that you are going to ask this question.
So thank you so much for that, sir. I must tell you that I have read the book. Not completely, of course. I'm in the process of reading, but I can completely vouch for what you've said. It's a wonderful storytelling book, and also it's been written in a very simple language for everyone to understand. So thank you for putting out such wonderful books, and we're just also grateful to Purathan sir for getting us in touch with you, and we've had a wonderful session with you, very intriguing, and I'm pretty sure you've sparked that right kind of interest amongst the students who've listened to you today. So since we've come towards the end of the session, I will just hand it over to Sejal for a formal vote of thanks. Oh, I'm so sorry, Tessie ma'am. Yes, sorry ma'am.
Purathan sir is already mentoring our students in a big way. We would be interested in designing curriculum and courses on corporate frauds. We will include your book as reading material, and we will be coming back to you for guidance and advice on the same.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, I write books. I have written 3 of them.
Okay.
Personally believe my life is very short, and I must make this disclosure just now. And there is no literature in the world who is trying to attempt to explain to each one of us the underbelly of the corporate world. If we don't understand the belly, how are we going to improve the society for tomorrow? And there is nobody's writing on it. And therefore, that's what I write. And I don't do this for a living. I do something else. I run companies for my living. But yes, it will be my honor and privilege if I can be of any value addition to your students and to your faculty, because it is something we must focus upon. Otherwise, we are not going to inherit a good world. There is definitely a global warming problem coming into the picture, lack of water and so on and so forth, which we must attempt to solve. But also this whole issue of inappropriate behavior on the part of entrepreneurs and businesses, we must resolve and must be aware of what's happening. Well, thank you so much to all of you. Thank you, Aishwarya. Thank you, Purathan.
In fact, I would like to mention one more thing, that Purathan has got a newsletter which is getting many students involved in looking up new topics related to finance, etc. So this is another area, if students can be brought into this aspect of trying to understand this phenomenon and collecting data and seeing it for themselves, maybe so many of our students can also be drawn into it. So that's another possibility which I'm just pointing out.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So thank you everyone. On behalf of Symbiosis College and Arts and Commerce, I extend a really hearty vote of thanks to Speaker Justina Bernack ma'am, Mr. Arvind Zaveri sir, and Mr. Robin Banerjee sir, who spared time from their busiest schedule to grace the occasion. Today we had an opportunity to hear your thoughts, and this will surely be going to encourage us in your future events. Your thoughts have enlightened our minds and have shown us a new path. My gratitude to all the speakers for gracing the occasion and sharing their opinions today. And I would also like to extend my vote of thanks to Principal Dr. Rishikesh Suman, Vice Principal and Head of Department Accounting and Costing, Dr. Tessie Thadathil ma'am, Mrs. Vaishali Kolhatkar ma'am, Head of the Department, Statistics and Computing Application, and Register Gandhali Parulkar for the encouragement and support. I also like to thank our webinar conveners Ashwini and Aishwarya ma'am, our IT support Nazir and Nitin sir, all teaching and non-teaching staffs for the constant support. Last but not least, a big thank you to all the participants for your interactive participation. And we have also displayed a QR code for the feedback form. We request you to give your valuable feedback, and e-certificates will be made available for you. Thank you so much.
So we just request you to stay back for a second. We'll just take a screenshot with everyone's cameras on.
And I'll just introduce Robin sir and Purathan sir to Dr. Justina, who is from UITM Poland. And we're trying to get into a collaboration, and they also have in cybersecurity, business analytics, various courses. So yeah, we really want to go ahead and get some courses lined up in this sphere. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Soman sir's there?
Soman sir has logged out because he has
okay. Right, no problem. Yes, ma'am.
I think the students can switch on your cameras.
Ma'am, we've not given that permission to them.
Can't, is it? Awesome.
Okay, thank you so much, everybody. And thank you so much, Puratan sir, Justina, and Robin sir. And we look forward to a long-term relationship with each one of
Sure,
you.
my pleasure and honor. Thank you, Aishwarya. Thank you all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Dr.